Another massive patch is upon us as 12.3 is loaded with its fair share of meta-shifting champion and item alterations. Ahri Mini rework is hitting the Rift, while Bruiser's items will offer a more offensive approach. All this and more as we break everything down thanks to the help of our challenger players and the analysis of the most recent data. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. And without any further ado, let's jump right in. Turbo Chem Tank will be nerfed for the second patch in a row as Riot doesn't want the item built on fighters or assassins. Refuel damage stack generation is being changed from moving and dealing damage to moving and taking damage. This greatly diminishes Chem Tank's strength on champs like Hecarim and Akali, who have abilities they can spam consistently. Distance per stack of refuel is changed from 15 units to 25 units. Bonus damage to monsters is going from 175 to 200%. Bonus damage to minions is up from 25 to 30%. Chem Tank becomes much worse for 12.3 and is likely only purchased on select tanks like Rammus. Sunderer will have its health lowered from 400 to 300, while AD is going from 35 to 40. Caulfields will also replace Phage in the build path. Gore Drinker adjustment is very similar as the health is lowered from 450 to 300, but AD increased from 45 to 55. Phage is once again removed from the build path, and Caulfields takes its place. Trinity Force health is actually increased from 200 to 300, but threefold strike AD per stack is lowered from 6 to 3%. Riot's evening out the health on Bruiser mythic items while altering the damage to compensate. Sterix is being changed in a couple different ways as the heal over time will be removed. AD is going from 50 to 0, however you'll now gain 40% base AD as bonus AD. Depending on when you pick up Sterix, this will be a buff or a nerf. Garen, for example, has 110 base AD at level 12, and 40% of 110 is equal to 44 AD. Therefore, you'll be losing 6 AD for 12.3. Level 15 is where you break even and hit 50 AD, so it's a nerf for the majority of situations. Shield duration is going from 4 to 3.75 seconds. The shield value, on the other hand, is changed from 100 plus 8% max health per enemy who's hit you to a flat 75% bonus health scaling. Overall, strength of Sterix will be lower for the coming patch, which means priority on alternatives like Deadman's will rise. Death's Dance is being changed so that it has more value into AP comps. The cost is increased from 3100 to 3300. Damage reduction is changed from only physical to physical and magic. Damage reduction amount is going from 35 to 30% for melee and from 15 to 10% for ranged. Heal is altered from 15% max health to 175% bonus AD. Heal will be more difficult to come by as instead of proccing it from an assist or a kill, heal will only proc on a takedown within 3 seconds of you dealing damage to them. Black Cleaver AD will be increased from 40 to 45 in compensation for health being lowered from 450 to 350. Haste is going from 25 up to 30. Riven won't mind this change as some extra AD and haste in exchange for less health will offer more snowball power. On the other hand, Titanic users like Kled and Urgot who benefit more from health stacking won't be liking it as much. Ravenous Hydra AD is going from 65 to 70. Fighters like Camille and Fiora will see a small indirect boost in strength. One of the most impactful item changes for 12.3 goes to Maw of Malmortius. AD is increased from 50 to 55. Haste bumped up from 15 to 20. Instead of scaling off 20% max health, the shield will now have a 225% bonus AD ratio. When Lifeline triggers, you will gain 12% Omnivamp. 4 unique buffs to greatly increase the efficiency of Maw. Of course, the item will remain situational as you wouldn't want to build it into AD heavy comps, but when those AP comps pop up, you want to be paying attention. Hex Drinker, which is a component item to Maw, is buffed as well, with the AD going from 20 to 25. In the past, many AD champs would grab Hex and just sit on it, so that strategy also becomes more viable for 12.3. Especially in games where you're going up against an AP mid and jungle, rushing Hex on champs like Kiana or Zed will be way more valuable. After Hex, you'd pick up your Mythic and then finish Maw as the second core item. Hearthbound Axe, which is a component to Stridebreaker, Trinity Force, and Wit's End, sees a cost reduction from 1100 to 1000 gold. A small early game buff to champions like Garen, Fiora, and Darius. Some more max damage and compensation for a steeper price point is lined up for Blade of the Ruined King. Cost will be increased from 3200 to 3300, while the max health on hit damage is going from 10 to 12% for melee and 6 to 8% for ranged. Solid change, especially in games where the enemy comp has a bunch of health stacking champions. With all the item changes to top lane, Riot has gone rather quiet on the direct change front, as Quinn will be the only top laner altered. W attack speed is increased from 20 scaling to 60% to 28 scaling to 60%. R damage is going from 40 to 70% total AD. As an early game dominant champion, these buffs are great to influence Quinn's snowball power. Keep in mind the recent teleport changes have been amazing indirect buffs to Quinn as well, so she's going to be one of the more underrated tops for 12.3. S tier is where Quinn will be placed. Top lane tier list will feature Darius and Garen leading the charge as the two OP picks. Champions with strong laning power and snowball potential will lead you to the best results in top lane right now. Uxin will be dropping down to S tier due to his nerfs, which we will cover for mid lane. Bruiser item changes shouldn't lead to a drastic shift in champion power for top lane, but offer a slightly more offensive approach. Your ability to take over when ahead becomes easier, but less durability leaves you more vulnerable when behind. Whichever fighter top laner comes out ahead in the early game will have an even greater edge in the 1v1. Best champs to climb low elo the fastest are Teemo, Mundo, and Nasus. Best bans for the current top lane meta are Tryndamere, Teemo, and Darius. Moving on to jungle, first up we have a buff to Lilia. Ultimate sleep duration is going from 1.5 scaling to 2.5 seconds to 2 scaling to 2.5 seconds. A decent early game buff to give Lilia some extra skirmish power. We don't expect the change to significantly increase Lilia's solo queue power level though, so she'll remain in B tier for the time being. Strangest change of the patch goes to Amumu, as he's been targeted with a couple nerfs, albeit pretty insignificant. Armor per level is lowered from 3.5 to 3. E max damage reduction will now be 50% of damage instance. Amumu will continue to be rated as a good A tier jungle pickup. A few alterations to the complete jungle tier list are in store, with Hecarim dropping out of OP tier. Chemtank nerfs 2 patches in a row hit the pony a substantial amount. Nunu will now hold down sole possession of the OP tier. For the first time in a while, the solo queue jungle meta is shaping out relatively balanced. There always seems to be those select few picks who rise above all else, but 12.3 helps to alleviate that. Noct, Gwen, and Vali have moved into respectable positions after their recent buffs. Viego isn't as broken as before due to shield bow and wits end nerfs. The past few patches have led us to a point where you can choose from a wide array of junglers who all have great carry potential. To speed run your way out of low elo, look into Warwick, Trundle, or Nunu. High priority bans for 12.3 include Nunu, Diana, and Hecarim. No matter what Riot throws Uxin's way, he's shaken off every single nerf, so they're testing their luck once again. Passive single shot movement speed is lowered from 35 scaling to 75 down to 20 scaling to 75. 3 stack damage proc is lowered as well, going from 20 scaling to 175 down to 10 scaling to 165. A heavier hit to Uxin's early laning, which is providing him a ton of strength right now. Nerfs won't kill Uxin by any means. However, his tier list placement now becomes a little dicey. Our analysts believe Uxin will be on the fence between A and S tier, so he'll remain in S for now, and we'll keep a close eye as the patch moves forward. Although Corki isn't as dominant of a pick in solo queue, his pro play presence has given Riot no choice but to nerf for 12.3. First package spawn time is going from 8 to 10 minutes. Package respawn time is increased from 4 to 5 minutes. The zone power, roaming potential, and objective control that package offers is extremely influential, so it's no surprise Riot has targeted it. Having to wait 2 extra minutes for spawn will lead to missing out on so many opportunities to get the ball rolling. 5 minutes in between packages will also be really tricky now, as that's the exact time in between dragon spawns. 4 minutes will give you plenty of time to grab package and control dragon, but that won't be as easy now. Corki will be a mediocre solo queue mid for 12.3, as he'll be dropping down into B tier. Another mid with heavy map impact is nerfed for 12.3, as Twisted Fate will be targeted. Q damage is changed from 60 scaling to 240 down to 60 scaling to 220. AP ratio is going from 65 to 70%. E attack speed will be cut in half at rank 1, going from 20 to 10%. Riot's looking to take away a small chunk of Twisted Fate's early game power. Late game will remain relatively unchecked, but getting there becomes slightly more difficult. TF will be joining Corki in B tier as an average solo queue mid. This patch is loaded with pro play focused nerfs, as LeBlanc is next in line. W damage is being lowered at the later ranks, going from 75 scaling to 235 down to 75 scaling to 215. Despite her pro play priority, LeBlanc is outclassed by many other mids for solo queue and won't be worth the pickup unless you really want to put the time into her. For the majority of elos, LeBlanc is a B tier pick for 12.3. Ahri players have been waiting for this one for a long time, but it's finally here. The mini rework is headed to live, so let's break it all down. A few base stats changes are being issued, with health and armor going down. Passive will be reworked so that killing minions or monsters grants Ahri an essence fragment. After obtaining 9 fragments, Ahri consumes them and heals. When scoring a takedown on an enemy champion within 3 seconds of damaging them, Ahri heals as well. Q mana cost is lowered at rank 1 but increased at rank 5. W is buffed in 4 different ways as the damage is increased, mana cost lowered, flame duration lowered, and movement speed duration increased. E base damage and AP ratio will be increased, mana cost is lowered, while the 20% damage AMP is being completely removed. Ultimate buffs are looking super nutty as the duration is going from 10 to 15 seconds. Proccing Ahri's passive will now extend the duration of her ultimate by up to 10 seconds and grant an additional cast. Access to a reset is going to lead to so much more solo carry power from Ahri moving forward. Ahri will be placed in S tier, but take the rating with a grain of salt for 12.3, as it's difficult to give a precise rating with so many different changes. Taking a look at the mid lane tier list, it's Fizz and Victor locking down OP tier spots. Both champions have been loving the recent Lichbane changes and have seen a nice boost in power as a result. Veigar is absolutely smashing the lower elos as a mid and bot carry after his recent buffs, so he'll be shifting up into S tier for 12.3. If this were a challenger-centric tier list, Veigar would definitely not be in S tier because he's still exploitable, but for the majority of elos, he's an amazing pick. If you're an AD assassin main, make sure you don't sleep on the Maw buffs. Into very heavy AP compositions, the value of the item rises drastically for 12.3. Veigar, Malz, and Annie are the top 3 mids to climb low elo. Victor, Kassadin, and Ukshin are a few good bans to consider. First patch impressions on Zeri are that she's looking extremely broken. It took just a few days for players to optimize her build, and there was no looking back. So much so that Hurricane Synergy is being removed for 12.3, as R will no longer gain stacks from Hurricane. This will hurt Zeri a little, but won't lead to a significant drop in power, as Black Cleaver is a more than acceptable replacement. Trinity into Cleaver is a build we would definitely recommend trying. The durability allows you to posture aggressively and rack up a ton of ultimate stacks. Zeri's true power lies in her ability to dish out consistent DPS while being extremely slippery with all the movement speed. Damage isn't overpowering compared to most ADCs, but it's really not a big issue. It's definitely worthwhile to put the time into Zeri, as she's one of the OP marksmen of 12.3. As a result of the recent Senna buff, she has been popping off in the carry role even more so than support, so soul drop rate on minion kill will be lowered from 10 to 2.7%. Hopefully you were able to abuse the freelo while it lasted, as Senna ADC will fall back into a rather mediocre state. A tier is where Senna lands for 12.3. Riot has a few Caitlyn nerfs lined up, as her AD growth is going from 3.8 down to 3.4, while Q secondary damage drops from 60 to 50%. Kate has been holding on to an S tier slot for a while now, but with these changes, we'll have to drop her into A. The ADC tier list features Vayne, Veigar, and Zeri as the most broken carries. With Zeri moving up, we'll be adjusting Jhin down to S tier. If you want some free elo, then Veigar should be in your champion pool. Even better if you can duo up and play with an Alistar or Maokai, as the 2v2 is insanely broken. Ziggs with First Strike is also super fun to play and really powerful at the same time. Top 3 low elo bot lane picks are Veigar, Misfortune, and Ziggs, while the best bans for the patch include Zeri, Vayne, and Jinx. A few minor brand buffs are penciled in, with his passive providing a mana refund if it kills the target. Ultimate will now prioritize nearby targets over Brand. Our analysts don't expect these to be enough to alter Brand's power level, as he will remain an A-tier support. Janna will receive a bug fix with how Glacial was interacting with her ultimate. We're honestly a bit surprised there isn't more to it than this, as Janna will continue to dominate as an OP support. It's a bit odd to see Nami nerfs coming through after Senna and Janna have moved past her in priority, but nevertheless, passive will gain more initial movement speed, but now decays while E damage is being lowered. Losing guaranteed damage from E is nothing to scoff at, as your all-in power when paired up with someone like Lucian takes a considerable hit. We'll be moving Nami out of S and down into A tier as a result of these alterations. Senna, Janna, and Blitzcrank lead the charge as the 3 best carry supports. Keep in mind, Senna's support is untouched for 12.3, as the nerf was to her soul drop rate on minion kills. Since Senna's support doesn't kill minions, the change doesn't affect her. Janna is proving to be a very consistent pick after her 12.2 buffs, as the E change with Moonstone is offering a lot of power. Glacial bug fix will put a small dent in her strength, but we don't see it being enough to warrant a move down the tier list. Nami's time on top of the meta is likely over, as the priority on Janna, Soraka, and Sona will be greater if you're looking for an enchanter. The best picks to climb low elo are Soraka, Senna, and Zyra. A couple good ban options are Senna, Blitz, and Janna. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into Elo Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. And that's going to wrap it all up for our 12.3 tier list update. Good luck with your ranked climb this patch, and we will see you in the next one.